Hi guys, welcome to Arsikei. List of some important rules that you should keep in mind when you speak and write English. One is adjectives and adverbs. Make sure you use adjectives and adverbs correctly. Adjectives describe, identify, and quantify people or things and usually go in front of a noun. They don't change if the noun is plural. Adverbs modify verbs. Adjectives and other adverbs and usually come after the verb. Okay, for example, he's a slow driver. Adjectives. He drives slowly. Adverb. Most adverbs are created by adding L and Y to an adjective as in the example, but a few adverbs are irregular, such as fast adjective, fast adverb, hard adjective, hard adverb, good adjective, well adverb. For example, your English is good. You speak English well. Okay. Next, pay attention to homophones. Homophonic words are words that are pronounced in the same way as other words but have different meanings, even if they are spelled differently. This can obviously create confusion, and unfortunately, there are many of these words in English. Okay, for example, there, there, your, it's, I, I, here, break, break, flower, flower, our. So, when you are writing, be careful to choose the right spelling. And when you listen, remember that a word you think you understood may have another meaning. Okay, try to understand that meaning from the context. Okay, next, use the correct conjugation of the verb. Remember to change the verb to agree with the subject. The main subjects you need to be careful with are he, she, it, because they often have a different form to the others. For example, she has two cats. She have two cats. This is wrong, yeah? The right one is she has two cats. Okay, this seems like a small mistake to make, but unfortunately, it's a very noticeable one. So, if you can avoid it, it will make a big difference to how accurate you sound. Okay, remember also that when you describe something using there is or there are, the verb must agree with the first item you mentioned. For example, there is a sofa, some chairs, and a table. There are some chairs, a table, and a sofa. Okay. Next, connect your ideas with conjunctions. Okay. If you want to connect two ideas or short phrases, you can do so by using a conjunctions. For example, I'm studying English. Next, English is important becomes I'm studying English because it's important. Okay. The most common conjunctions are and for addition, because to give the reason, but to express contrast, so to describe a consequence, or to describe an alternative. Okay, here are some examples. He likes football and he plays in a team. We're going out because we're bored. She wants to study more, but she doesn't have time. Kim is coming round, so I'm cleaning my flat. Would you like tea or coffee? Okay, next. Sentence construction. Generally speaking, sentences in written English are not particularly long. This is good news for English learner because it means you don't need to worry about writing long, okay, complex sentences. A sentence usually has two or possibly three clauses, subject plus verb plus object, okay, linked by a conjunction. A good way to make your sentences even clearer clearer is to add commas. Commas help to reader understand where one phrase finish and another begins. The most common occasions where it's recommended to put a comma are between two clauses. For example, if the weather is nice tomorrow, we're going to the park. Two separate items in a list, for example, our kids like swimming, skiing, ice skating, and cycling. After some conjunctions, for example, our holiday was great and the hotel was wonderful. However, the weather was awful. For extra information in the middle of a sentence, a non-defining clause, yeah? For example, my neighbor who's from Brazil is really good at cooking. Okay, and don't forget to start every sentence with a capital letter. Okay, next. Remember the word order for questions. In English, the structure of questions is different to the affirmative form. So make sure you remember to change the order of the words or add the auxiliary do. There are four ways to make questions in English. Okay, from to be. For questions using the verb to be, invert the subject and verb. For example, are you a student? All other verbs. To make questions for all other verbs, add the auxiliary do. For example, do they work here? Okay. For modal verbs, to make questions with modal verbs, invert the modal verb and the subject. For example, can he play the piano? Okay. Auxiliary verbs for sentences containing an auxiliary verb like have in the present perfect, invert the auxiliary verb and the subject. For example, have you seen Bob? Okay. These rules still apply when you add a question word like what, how, why. For example, where are you from? When can we meet? Why have they left? Okay. Next, use the right past form of verbs. Speaking about the past in English is not particularly difficult. Every subject uses the same word to express the past. So you don't need to worry about learning six different words as in some languages. However, many verbs are irregular and don't follow the regular form of adding ed. You don't need to know all of this, but try to learn the most common ones, okay? Approximately 20. For example, go, went, have, had, make, made. For example, we went to the cinema last Saturday. They had a party to celebrate Tom's birthday. I made a cake this morning. Okay. Next, get familiar with the main English verb tenses. If you are just starting to learn English, you won't know all the tenses yet, right? And that's fine. Just focus on becoming familiar with the four or five that are used most often. Aim to be able to use this like present simple to describe habits and permanent situations. For example, we live in New York. Then present continuous to describe current situation and future plans. For example, I'm meeting John later. Past simple to describe finished past actions. For example, they arrived at 3 p.m. Present perfect to describe past actions connected to now. For example, we've finished the reports. Okay. Will to describe future actions. For example, I'll meet you in front of the conference center. Okay. Next, never use a double negative. In English, there are often two ways to express a negative concept. For example, if you want to say the room is empty, you can say there is nothing in the room or there isn't anything in the room. The words nothing and anything have the same meaning, right? But nothing is used with an affirmative verb, and anything is used with a negative verb. This rule applies to other words like nobody, anybody, none, any. This is also true of the word never when you talk about experience. You can say, he's never been to the US, or he hasn't ever been to the US. The meaning is the same, but in the second sentence, the use of ever means you need to make the verb negative. Okay? Thank you.